Okay.
So what brings you to South Africa?
I've come back to live for a while. You know, I think I'll always live in many countries. I'm used to that now. So, but I needed to come home. I needed to sort out myself. I've struggled a lot from what I went through. I need to come to terms with my own past, and I can only do that by living it. Imagining being back in South Africa wasn't working. I had to come back, and I've been back about 3.5 months now, and I couldn't be happier. It's just, I'm African.
Do you feel like you're home?
Oh, totally.
You're based in Durban?
I am, for the moment. I'm thinking about Johannesburg because my business would probably be better suited there, but at the moment winter in Durban is like heaven on a stick. So I forgot that for 26 years of my life this was winter to me. Anyway, so I'm back because I'm also making a documentary, which I don't know you know. I want to do something with my experience. I'm not exactly sure. It's changed a lot since I started, but something's been kind of haunting me because when you decided to marry Mike, you called me. My memory is a little rusty, but I remember you saying to me that you wanted to meet, and we met at Legends in Musgrave, and you saying to me you knew the story and you were going to marry Mike anyway. And I never really had a chance to say my side of the story because now that I'm 41, I'm more aware that there's always 3 sides to a story. I just need to be heard, and I need to say that I'm really angry and that I've had to work really, really hard. It was a big deal, and it is a big deal, and it will always be a big deal.
And
but
it still is today.
It is, and it will always be, and it's my path. And I think the reason I'm okay is that I have to do something with it, and that's what I'm doing. But I wanted you to know my story, and I wanted to make sure that it's clear that it happened when I was 12 and it continued until I was 16. It wasn't a once-off. It was a relationship.
I just remember something. Sometimes I take full responsibility for what happened, and I've had to live with it every day as well.
I'm sure.
And I'll never forget the day you phoned me.
From Bristol.
Yeah, and you said I've forgiven you.
Yeah.
I sent you an email. I don't know if you got it.
No, never.
I sat down the next day, and it took me a couple of hours to write an email to you. I had an email address that Clint or somebody had picked it up from him, and I emailed you. I thought you got it and you didn't reply.
No.
And in that email I basically said, I thanked you for forgiving me. I took responsibility for what happened, and I said it's something I've got to live with every day as well. And I've said that to Linda as well. There's nothing that, whatever we talk about, Linda knows it. I've never hidden anything from her.
And that was very important in the beginning for me, because if this meeting had happened now and I knew nothing about it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Mark was he said, I'm going to be upfront with everything, because at that stage that was the time to get out of it, get out of the relationship if I wasn't going to accept that. But you carry on.
I'm just, there's so much I want to say. There's so much, and I'm sure when I leave here, I'll be like a million things. And I've prepared so hard for this moment, I guess. But I just wonder what possessed you, Mike. And I no longer feel like it was my fault, because most of my life I felt like it's my fault. And I no longer feel it's okay. Now I'm okay with that, and I'm fully aware that at 12 years old, there was no way on God's earth that I would have stopped that. And for whatever reason, there's a whole lot of other reasons that those things happen. And I'm learning more and more about it, and it's so complex. But why? I just want to know, and I want to see your eyes, and I want to know why, if you have an answer.
I've asked myself that question, and I've tried to work it out myself. I think possibly it was a situation that we were in. You remember how difficult Mom used to be?
I don't want to go down that route though, because
just saying, I used to.
As an adult.
Yeah, I know, and I used to stand between the two of you when you used to fight. And whether that had something to do with it, I don't know. But I used to wake up every day and I didn't know where I stood with her. You remember, she was up and down all the time. And I think emotionally, it probably messed me up. If I think about it, the accusations that were always thrown at me by her and the friends I had during that 10 years of marriage, they all disappeared. It was only after that
Mark,
she left that.
can I just stop you there? I don't really want to know the surroundings. I want to know about you.
I'm trying to explain myself. I don't know. I've got no idea what happened. I really don't. If you asked Linda, am I like that? What are you going to say? We've been married now.
We've spoken about this and it haunts me often. It really does. And I mean, it must have haunted you to think that Mark had a daughter.
Well, I told Wendy. Wendy would have told you, right?
Yeah.
The minute that I found out, I just said to Wendy, I pray to God that God is on your side, because...
And Mark has never, ever... Well, for me, it's hard to believe. And that's why I felt that I needed to work through this, because it was a huge blow to me.
I have a question for you as well, and this is because the work I'm doing, there's an intention for it. I intend, and I'm going to. One thing I'm very lucky with, I thank my lucky stars, or however it happened, I'm not a drug addict. I don't cut myself, I don't sleep around, I don't drink too much. There's got to be a reason why I'm like this. So the only thing I can do is try to help other people, and the only way I can do that is by helping myself. And I don't understand how any woman will marry a man. I didn't know that you knew the real story, because to me, any woman that will choose to marry a man, they know sexually had sex, abused a child for 4 years, and had a relationship really for 5 years, and then choose to marry that person.
You know, Tanya, I think that we all have skeletons from the past. We all do things.
Totally.
I had an affair, which is totally, when I was widowed, which is totally against Linda. It's not even remotely.
Sorry, you had an affair when you were widowed?
When I was widowed, yes.
But you were already widowed?
Yes, I was widowed. But
how do you have an affair when you're widowed? Sorry.
The person's married.
Oh,
yes.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
So it was something that was totally against me and who I am. Totally out of character. And anybody will tell you that, because...
You're an adult and he was an adult.
Yeah,
I'm talking about a child.
I know that, Tanya, but you've also got to realize that people have things in their past.
I do.
Which they've done and they're remorseful for.
Yeah.
And Mark has truly spent many tears, remorseful, and living daily with the consequences of what he did. It's the same as saying, how can you marry somebody who's murdered somebody? I mean, that's the worst thing out. But you have to allow people... I'm not condoning what happened. Don't believe you me. I'm the last one that'll condone it. But you've got to let go, and you've got to come to a place of forgiveness, because I believe that everybody in life has a chance to make right with what they've done.
Totally, I do too.
And you know where we have found the solace? We're both really strong Christians, Mark and I, and you know, you may think, oh, it's just a cop-out. Maybe it is, but for
I think
us,
whatever helps you must help.
For us, there's a place in your life where there comes forgiveness, where Christ forgives you for what you've still got to live with your consequences. You've still got to live with all those things that haunt you. When I heard you'd come back to Durban, I was haunted, because in my mind, I try and deal with that part of Mark's life. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
It haunts me.
It's very natural for us to try not to deal with it. We put it in a box and we try to put it somewhere, and with sexual abuse in general, that's exactly why it still goes. That's exactly why it still lives. And my goal is to break the silence, and I'm going to do it one baby step at a time. And this is part of it, because what I didn't realize when I set off to make the documentary was that my own experience was going to come and hit me straight in the face, and it continues to do that. But I can't let that happen when I'm interviewing people and when I'm, doing the actual work, because I just can't. I'm doing the work, but I can fall apart afterwards, and that's what I've been doing. And luckily, that's what goes on. You do it together. And that's why I'm here. And I need you to know that whenever I spoke to you, when the 2 times we've ever spoken about it, when I was 19 and you came to see a psychologist, and you were sitting there and you said, I never meant to hurt you, and I believe you. I actually do totally believe that. And then when I called you from Bristol and I forgave you, for some reason it hit me that I wanted to do that. And you again said, I never meant to hurt you. And again, I really do believe that, probably now more than ever. What I would like to know is, are you sorry? I never heard sorry.
I'm sorry you didn't get that email. Of course I'm sorry it happened.
Yeah, of course I'm sorry.
It's something I've had to if I wasn't sorry, I wouldn't feel so bad about it. When Linda and I got together, and before anything had happened between us, and I realized that there was something, because I was never going to get married again. I decided that was it. And I realized that there's something was happening, and I said, look, I've got to tell you what my life's about. Lots of things I'm not proud of. And then I said, if we're going to get married, we've got to do it properly, we've got to do it in the church, and I've got to change my life. And that's basically what happened. Because from there, we went to church, got married in a church, and we take our Christianity seriously. I've got to live with that conscience all the time. But I do believe, and I don't know why God did it, I do believe that the Lord forgives you for what you've done, if you're genuine about what you're doing, what you've done. And I've taken it to the Lord many times, and I realized you can't take it to the Lord all the time. It says, and I gathered you were a Christian from when you phoned me that time and you said, I forgive you. Are you a Christian?
Am I a Christian? I believe in many faiths. I don't believe in God as in one God.
I believe in one God.
Yeah.
And it took me probably 10 years to realize that you can't go and ask for forgiveness over and over again. It says in the Bible that you forgive it, and the past is, in the Lord's eyes, is gone.
Okay.
And I kept coming back all the time, carrying that baggage with me all the time. And it's probably only about 5 or 6 years ago that I don't drag that baggage with me. It's there. You can't forget it.
Yeah, no, I'm aware of that.
I don't go to the Lord every night and say, Lord, I'm sorry, if you know what I'm getting at.
But can I just say something? Mm-hmm. To say to God that you're sorry and you have a very close relationship with Him is one thing. To say to me, the person who you did it to, is another thing. I'm still living. You can touch me. You can feel me. I have a heart, and I have had to struggle a lot.
Tanya, I am sorry. And I did put that in the letter. I'm sorry you never got it.
You can...
Because I spent hours putting that together to send to you, trying to word it correctly to say that I am sorry, and that I appreciated your phone call forgiving me for what I've done. And in there I said I accept full responsibility for everything that happened.
It's a shame I never got it.
No, because I sent that cheapest. When was that you phoned? Because if that night you actually phoned.
It was the end of 1999.
Yeah, we were having a Bible study on the phone.
It was September 1999.
Yeah. Well, it was during the Bible study that I went and answered that phone.
Look, it's done, and I didn't get it, and for whatever reason I didn't get it. You know, stuff happens. I needed to hear somebody tell me that they're sorry, because it's helped me to know that people are actually sorry. Not that they didn't mean to hurt me, but they're actually sorry. There's something about sorry.
No,
I don't know what it is.
It's a conscience I've got to live with, even though I know that I've been forgiven by the Lord, and I pray that you've forgiven me. I know that I did something I should never have done, and I've got to live with it. And as Linda said, you've got to live with the consequences as well. So you take those consequences of the guilt in your heart. You've got to carry that forward. You can't get rid of it.
Well, I'm here to get rid of my guilt. At least some of it.
You've got nothing to be guilty about.
But Mike, it's not how one interprets it. And Mum and me did have, she did tell me that it was my fault. I should have known better at 12. So there's a whole lot of other stuff that one deals with. And I'm not the only person who feels guilty. Usually a child, 99% of the time, feels guilty. It's just what happens in us. learning how to let go of that guilt, I think, is a process, and I'm trying to do that, and I'm trying to get rid of some of my anger, and I think I'm getting there, and it's certainly helping me working with it, and it's certainly helping me working with people and trying to help them. They help me. That's how it works, I think, in life.
And I think also with a girl, you think emotionally, and it's all, whereas a man, it's more of a practical thing. But for us as women, this whole violation of your space, your rights, your whatever, is harder to come to terms with.
It wasn't just sex though, Linda. This was a proper relationship. There was a lot of manipulation that Mike did. A lot of things he told me that made my mind click in a certain way. Like, if a man doesn't have sex when he's got a hard on, his balls get so sore that it's impossible for him to not. So I'm like immediately thinking, okay, got to do this. Things like that are things that just take time to try to process. For whatever reason you did that. I mean, I can't begin to try to understand because I've got enough of my own things to try to understand. How it was wired in me, and the fact that we were having sex with mom asleep in the same bed. That is something that has always haunted me, and I didn't have that memory until quite recently. I'd completely blocked that out of my mind. Completely.
Do you think it's therapeutic to go and open up all these parts in your brain?
I think it's the only way I can live.
To deal with them as you go.
To make something of my life. To make a contribution. I don't want to die and not having gone through what I've gone through. Try to help in whatever way I can. I don't know how it's going to be, but I can tell you that already now, the little I have and the footage and the people I've met and the thank God for the internet. It's a perfect time. Because if we don't talk, if we don't get it out, it will continue. My passion is surviving to thriving. That's my surviving to thriving. Documentary part of it is to try to gather information of people who've been through adversity. It's not just sexual abuse. That's part of it within families. I want sexual abuse within families. I'm very specific about that. But I want people to understand that the choice to thrive is a conscious choice. We have to consciously do that. Otherwise we all end up surviving. And often just survival means that we keep quiet and we pull together and we push through. And I don't want that life. I'm not into that whole push through existence. I'm into speak. Because sexual abuse within families, it thrives in the dark. And the dark means you don't speak. And the minute you start speaking, light comes, and mold, it doesn't thrive in the dark. Mold only thrives, it doesn't thrive in the light. Mold only thrives in the dark. And sexual abuse is like a mold. It's, hopefully when I die, my goal is that when I die, sexual abuse will be talked about as gay marriage is today. And I'm 41, probably halfway through my life, maybe less, but let's say halfway. And this is my life's work. This is what I was born to do. So I'm going to do tiny little baby steps as that I can. But I really I needed to say out loud to people who actually were in it that it really hurts and it really has been a struggle to commit to life, I guess. Once you make that commitment to life and then you decide to thrive, to push through all the little webs of thoughts and feelings and complexities, and that's just what it is. And I'm not alone. I mean, there's millions of people that this happens to, but we have to talk, we have to air it, we have to put it out there. Because when people start to, I've known of a case where a person has attempted to very unconsciously abuse a child, and there's been a conversation and that person stopped. It helps to stop. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask for your help. These are my notes because I just wanted to make sure I could remember what I was saying, but I'm actually feeling totally fine. This is the cost that it's cost me to do all the therapy. I haven't been able to remember everything. I have emailed most of the therapists I've worked with or life coaches. I kind of gave up on psychotherapy after a while because I felt like I was chasing my tail and I didn't want to continue talking about the incident and going round and round. I wanted to talk about how could I move forward now and not have it with me anymore and do something worthwhile. So I've worked with different kinds of people. But I want you to know that it's cost me a lot of money to do this. And I'm leaving you this so that you can see it. I can give you copies of all the invoices as well. I'm still in touch with most of my therapists. The problem is the ones in Durban I'm not with. I don't think I was very conscious when I was living here. I was not very awake. And when we met, I certainly wasn't. So I've given an estimate because I've been through therapy every single year, which I'm sure you know. Now I'm much better. Now, in fact, my coach now, he's a life coach and a business coach because he knows that I'm integrating my business with my documentary. So I have put him on hold right now while I'm here just to breathe. But I will continue to working with him. You're welcome to Google all of them. They're all online. And if you have any questions, please ask me. But I'm going to ask you to pay half of my costs. I know that it might be difficult. So the other thing that I'd like to ask is that you help with the documentary. And I don't know how that is. Can't see what that is. But I can see that if we interviewed and we talked about it, other people will see that it's okay to talk. That person's not going to kill you. You're not abusing me anymore. You're never going to have a hold on me psychologically again. So I want to show that because I know that when I was looking for some solutions, I needed to see people like me that had recovered or at least found ways to work through stuff instead of finding another person who was telling me another tragic story about something my mind could hardly get around. I don't want to see that anymore. I want to see some positive stuff, ability to thrive, and that's why I think you can thrive, because you no longer say how horrible it was, how dreadful it was, what an asshole he is, how terrible the mother is, whatever, Mom's mom. There's nothing I can do. She was my mother. That's where I was born. You were in my life, and I think there's a reason for everything. I might not be religious in the God sense, but I'm very spiritual, and I believe very much in a power stronger than me, and a reason for all of us being here, and a reason for all of our experiences.